humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, welcome to Talking Politics. My name is Robert Press. I'm a reporter, as you can see by my new press card with the Bronx Post on it, which I write for. I also write for the Parkchester Times. Both like this show are part of Parrot Media Corporation. I also contribute to the Co-op City News, have a blog at www.100%.blogspot.com. Also, Facebook pages 100% and what is going on in your community board. The views expressed on the show are those of the host, any guest, or anyone who is commenting at the bottom of the screen and not necessarily those of Parrot Media Corporation. I will skip over the weather because it is getting a little nicer. It's going to be in about the 40s the next few days, and we may see some flurries, but that's about it. I do want to say something about the Los Angeles fires, which continue to burn as of today. The death toll is now up to 10. Thousands of businesses and homes have been destroyed, and almost 200,000 people have been under evacuation orders, according to LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. Celebrities like Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, and Adam Brody have lost their homes, which have burnt down to the ground. And it looks like, according to the sheriff, analysts will now estimate these fires to be the costliest in U.S. histories, with losses of already reaching about $50 billion. More than 2/5 of them only were insured. And this morning, we had a fire in the Allerton section of the Bronx, it was a fire where two residents were injured and 5 firemen. It comes only 3 years and 1 day after the Park Terrace fire here in the Bronx that injured and killed several people. And our hearts go out to the people who are going to be displaced. It was a large fire that raced across the top of a 6-story building. And again, it's just life here in the Bronx, unfortunately. If you remember the World Series back in the 80s, you had a pan of the Bronx with Howard Cosell, one of the famous sportscasters, saying, "And the Bronx is burning," as the camera panned a burning building. You could see it almost looks just like that on some of the Facebook posts. So let me get into my guest right now, Mr. Patrick McManus, the chair of the Bronx Conservative Party. Patrick, any comments on what's happening here with these fires? I know you want to talk politics, but anything about the Bronx you want to say right now? Patrick? Okay, I guess my guest is not here right now. He must be in the waiting room, so let me go on to some business. Monday, January 6th, Congress certified President-elect Donald Trump as the winner of the 2024 election and proceedings that counted electoral votes from each state, which Vice President Kamala Harris was overseeing, and declaring Donald Trump as the new president who will take office on January 20th, which also happens to be Martin Luther King Day. Now, it would be wrong to dismiss Trump's Greenland posture as a 19th century imperialist throwback. Rather, it signals a huge modern reality, a world transforming thanks to climate change, with China, Russia, and the United States jostling to take advantage. The rationale goes like Greenland's ice sheets are losing 270 billion tons of water per day. And while the Arctic Sea ice is vanishing so rapidly that the polar sea may be ice-free by some summer in the 2030s, this unfreezing opens new possibilities for resources, extraction, faster trade routes, space and military bases, new fishing zones, and great power confrontation. Moscow and Beijing are moving to exert control over the Arctic region, which is warming faster than anywhere else on the planet. Against this backdrop, President Trump's demands for Greenland begin to look as if not reasonable. They reasoned. Some local news: the crime in the city has edged down 3% in 2024. City and police officials said that they plan to put 200 more police officers on trains and platforms in order to make New Yorkers feel even safer, especially on the subways. Now, I had to take the subway downtown to get my new press card. I felt a little safer. However, I did not see any police officers on any trains that I took or on any platforms that I was at. And as far as congestion pricing, the Easy Pass New York website crashed on Monday morning during the first workday of New York City's congestion pricing plan. About 9:45, Easy Pass notified its customers or users that the website was experiencing higher than normal activity. By around 10:20, the website seemed to be back and running. It could be that everybody was trying to up their amount in their Easy Pass now with congestion pricing. The judge overseeing President-elect Trump's hush money case indicated that he will not sentence Trump to any jail time or probation, even as he rejected Trump's attempts to have the case dismissed and set his sentencing for today, as a matter of fact. Judge Marchant said that a sentence of an unconditional discharge appears to be the most viable situation to ensure finality and allow defendants to pursue his appellate options. Such a sentence should allow the conviction to stand, but without Trump being fined, locked up, or having to serve probation. The judge denied Trump's request to vacate the verdict. To vacate the verdict on the ground that charges are insufficiently serious, given the position the defendant once held and is about to assume again, would constitute a disproportionate result and create immeasurable damage to the citizenry confidence in the state and the rule of the law, the judge added. Now, yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled that President-elect Trump can be sentenced today by Judge Marchant in Trump's hush money case by a 5-4 majority ruling. Now, here's something I wanted to talk with Mr. McManus, or I should say Conservative Party Chair McManus. I wanted to know his feelings on a newly filed bill in New York that would allow future marijuana consumption lounges to sell non-infused food, non-alcoholic beverages, and hold up. I have Patrick with me. Okay. Were you able to hear me on any of the Trump items?
Yes, I've been backstage, Bob. I've heard you.
Okay. And what is your comment on Judge Marchant going ahead that the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 against President-elect Trump?
It's basically a non-issue, I guess. He took the safe ground and basically did nothing with his ruling. It didn't change anything. I stand with President Trump on it was a political witch hunt. There never should have been a conviction, and there never should have been a trial in this case. And I think now the judge realizes that's how the majority of the American people feel. So he kind of made a ruling that kept himself safe. And it was a non-committal ruling, in my opinion.
Any opinions on some of the other things like buying Greenland, annexing the Panama Canal that he's talking about?
Absolutely. Again, the Greenland issue, as you stated, the changing climate, which, you know, undeniably the climate's changing. What the cause is, we could debate all day. Climate has changed around, you know, since before man walked the earth, we had severe climate shifts. However, Greenland is becoming a very strategic, if this trend continues, Greenland becomes a very strategic location in many ways. As you mentioned, shipping channels for our national security, it will be very key. Denmark seems to have no interest in investing any money or you know, basically developing it at all. And if they have no interest, somebody is going to step in and use Greenland strategically, whether it be economically or militarily. And it is very important that we keep our eyes on that. And the same holds true with the Panama Canal in allowing China to assert their strength and control over the Panama Canal. We are crippling our supply chain. And as we saw in 2020, the effects that could have on us and our national security, food chain, there's so many security issues that go along with both of those locations that it is imperative that the United States be involved and be sure to maintain some control over these areas.
Okay, I was starting to talk about a new bill in the Assembly by Assembly Member John Zaccaro, who is your and mine assemblyman.
Yep.
He seeks to amend the state cannabis law to allow its on-site consumption licenses, none of which have yet been licensed. The regulators take a methodical approach to launching the legal marijuana or cannabis market. Under current law, consumption lounge licenses are prohibited from allowing certain activities on premises, including gambling, exposing or stimulating contests, or fireworks. Zaccaro's bill would clarify what activities and services the operators could offer. Specifically, it stipulates that on-site consumption facilities could sell non-infused food and non-alcoholic drinks. They could also allow to sell tickets for live musical or other performances not otherwise prohibited under statute. And it's unclear about this when the first consumption lounges licenses will be awarded, or if this bill will be enacted before these businesses get approved. What is your opinion about on consumption cannabis or marijuana sites?
Well, I have an overall opinion. I think it's absurd to start proposing laws in regards to this when we haven't even figured out how the legalization process is going to work from the get-go. Okay, you're talking already about altering how facilities that still are not operating legally are going to operate differently. I think a timeout should be held on anything to do with the cannabis legalization in New York State until the government or Albany gets some kind of control and some kind of idea of how they're going to allow the legal operation. Right now, 90% of these places are operating illegally. It's the Wild West. To propose laws to expand what they can do when you can't control what's existing now is absurd, and this law should never even have been proposed. I don't know, Zaccaro should be concentrating on closing down the illegal shops and figuring out how we're going to run the legal ones.
Well, I had Senator Gustavo Rivera on several months ago, and I asked him a question. For drunk driving, there's a breathalyzer. For cannabis consumption, if somebody's over the limit of cannabis, what kind of test is there? And he said, well, we don't have one yet. So if you're going to have on-premise consumption, how are you going to control that? How are you going to know when a person's over the limit? That's the problem.
This is absolutely, I think I might have spoke about it on your show previously. I feel the same way. There's no way to measure a level of intoxication by marijuana. We have a defined level. I asked the supporter, a friend of mine is a supporter of the legal marijuana, and I said, okay, so how much marijuana are you okay with your child's school bus driver consuming on Sunday night when they're picking up your child on that bus at 7 a.m.? where would you be comfortable? How much marijuana would you be comfortable with that school bus driver smoking on Sunday night? And of course, he could not give me an answer.
I'm going to skip my commercial that normally comes here now, and I'm going to keep Patrick on for the rest of the show because I know that your vice chair of the Bronx Conservative Party is running for mayor.
Yes.
And Mayor Adams yesterday outlined a bold vision to New York City as the best place to raise a family. When he gave his State of the City speech, some of his items include helping more families find homes in the 5 boroughs by turning New York City into a city of yes for families, putting money back into families' pockets, delivering a first-rate education for New York City education students, creating good-paying jobs for parents and young people, creating cleaner, greener streets for families, just a few. And he mentioned the Kingsbridge Armory of what was happening there. What is your opinion, or I should say, what would Gonzalo's position be as mayor?
Well, I can't speak for Gonzalo. And quite honestly, Gonzalo and I, we disagree on quite a few subjects. So I would hope you could get Gonzalo on at some point.
I hope so.
And I'd also like to point out the Conservative Party has not, as of yet, endorsed any candidate for New York City mayor. I'm sure there's an assumption Gonzalo is going to be our candidate, but that has to be decided throughout all 5 counties. And there are discussions in place. But as of today, we have not supported any candidate for mayor. And
Grace, I believe Grace Lovick or Grace Marrero, whatever we have.
Marrero, yes.
Marrero has announced that she's running for Bronx Borough President. Any comment on that?
Yes, she will be seeking our endorsement. We're going to be later this month. We're going to be starting interviewing several candidates for several different offices. Again, citywide offices are decided by a majority of the 5 counties. The endorsements are decided. So whereas we have input, we don't decide who the citywide candidates are autonomously in the Bronx. We do have the city council seats that we're looking at and the borough president.
Right, and your party was very decisive in helping Christy Marmorato become the new city councilwoman in the 13th Council District. Hopefully, or I should say, will you be endorsing her in her campaign? I don't see any candidates coming out right now.
I am very glad you brought this up, Robert. Yes, in a little over a year ago, the Conservative Party line was the deciding factor in Christie's election to the city council. Unfortunately, I am hearing now that is the opinion of some that the Conservative Party is not needed for Christie to get reelected. I think this is terrible. I am trying to keep everybody unified. I preach to my party members and all the importance. We here in the Bronx gave the Bronx County Democratic Party a huge black eye. And that was done through the Republican and Conservative parties working together. Now I'm hearing, somewhat on both sides, but I was very troubled recently to hear that it was publicly stated that Christie is going to get reelected and the Conservative Party should have nothing to do with her campaign, and the Conservative Party is not needed for her to get reelected. This is very dangerous to Christie's campaign and a very divisive comment. I am working very hard to keep my party unified with the Republican candidate and the Republican incumbent candidate. Christie is in 40 years the first conservative Republican candidate elected. This was a major accomplishment. I don't understand why we're starting to divide ourselves and why people are speaking like this. I don't know if you've heard any of this, Robert.
No, I haven't. As a matter of fact, in speaking to Christie herself, I said, are you going to be going on a conservative line? And she says, yes, I hope to. Okay.
Absolutely.
She thanks the Conservative Party very much. So this is news to me of what you're saying. And I'll have
Christy
to
and
look
I
into
have
it.
spoken, and it 100% is not coming from Christy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about others. And Christy's campaign, I have a very good relationship with her. We have spoken. We are working towards it. And as I said, later this month, we're working on the official endorsements. And it is my hope and expectation that Christy is going to be our candidate.
And do you have any other candidates in other council districts here in the Bronx to announce yet, or proposed candidates?
We have some, yes. We have a few. I know we have somebody reached out that wants to run against Kevin Riley, Alonzo. I don't remember the names offhand. Again, we're working towards finalizing all of these things. We're hoping, we showed that there is a path to victory in the Bronx last November.
Right, because so far Kevin Riley, Oswald Felice, and Amanda Farias are the three council members who don't have any primary opponent yet. That has filed with the Campaign Finance Board. It seems that the 17th council district, and it looks even like the 14th council district, will be big players this year too, because in the 14th, Fernando Cabrera is seeking to regain his seat he once had against incumbent Karina Sanchez. So that should be a nice battle. And there's a third candidate in there. And Rafael Salamanca is term limited in the 17th council district. And there are 5 people already. And it appears that his choice of Freddie Perez is going to have a hard time because of the chief of staff for Natalia Fernandez, Justin Sanchez, seems to be the party choice. And in the 13th, it looks like now there are 5 Democrats. Another person announced the other night, Wednesday night, at the meeting with Bally's from the Morris Park Community Association, that she is going to run for the city council. So that makes her, Jacqueline Torres, I believe is her name. You have John Perez. Ms. Torres, by the way, was a former major with the U.S. Army. John Perez is also a former sergeant with the U.S. Army. You have Mr. David Diaz, who lives in City Island, who is running. He's being put up by John Doyle. And Shirley Aldebal, who is the vice president of 32BJ, is running. And it seems that 32BJ gave a lot of help to Marjorie Velazquez last year and has given money to several Democratic candidates in the Bronx, as well as Jamal Bailey, Vanessa Gibson, the borough president, and Darcel Clark, to name some. So I don't see how they're not going to, be, endorsing Shirley Aldebal if the union is going to give all this money. And so, I mean, it's like pay to play. Remember those words?
I was looking at this shortly before we went on air, and there's only 3. I think there's only 3 actually filed so far with campaign finance. Was David Diaz, Shirley Aldebal, and I forget.
And Oswald Felice, the chief of staff, Fiona Reitz.
Yes. Those are the only ones who have actually filed already with campaign finance. And as you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. 32BJ throws around enough money politically that I believe Shirley, it's looking like, will end up being the candidate, although she hasn't raised any money yet. I did look at her finances prior to
Right. It comes out next week, the next filing.
There's nothing reported yet. As far as John Perez, they've announced, but they haven't filed. So, that's something to look at. It's easy enough to get in front of a camera and say you're going to run. It's a different thing to file and do all the paperwork and start getting the organization in place to actually have a campaign.
Yeah, well, he ran for the 13th 4 years ago, pardon me. And he came in, I believe, 4th or 5th in that race.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I know John. I like John.
yeah, he's a terrific person.
He's a great guy for the community.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not saying anything disparaging, saying that he hasn't filed or anything, and it's one thing to get in front of the cameras. But I just want to be clear about that.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of different items. Congestion pricing. City Controller Brad Lander was saying that on Sunday, January 5th, the first day, that today New Yorkers take a huge step forward towards less traffic, cleaner air, and better transit. Now, Governor Hochul paused this. It was supposed to be $15. She paused it in June. John Middlefinger. Okay, yes. AJ, we know about that. He's also going out with the chair of Community Board 11, Mr. Perez, that is. All right, but that's neither here nor there. Congestion pricing. It was supposed to be $15. Hochul paused it so, some Democrats upstate could win. They did. They've got 2 more Democrats upstate. Now it's $9. What's your opinion on congestion pricing?
The whole thing is a scam. This money is supposedly for the MTA. The MTA historically has been corrupt, can never account for the money. And again, it's another tax on the hardworking, legitimate citizens of New York City and workers. You have, they're instituting this on people that drive vehicles to pay for the mass transit system. Meanwhile, a study just showed that 40% of the train riders are not paying the fare and 60% of the bus riders are not paying the fare. How about starting enforcement there and start collecting the actual fare before charging those that choose to drive in the city to subsidize the trains? Another issue, a lot of people aren't aware, there's supposedly $30 million coming into MTA from these casino licensings. Okay, so now you have another 30 million. I think this is, or I'm sorry, 30 billion. I think the number is 30 billion.
No, yeah, they're going to get money from these casino licenses. It's not 30 billion.
I thought it was 30 million. Whichever it is, Robert. But again, they just opened up this stream of income to the MTA. They open up at the same time. They just voted against the capital project that made any long-term plans for improvement to the system. So why are people being charged all this much more money for a system that has been neglected horribly over the years? And the capital money has disappeared. Historically, the capital money disappears and nothing ever gets accomplished. Why are we opening up 2 new revenue streams when you have no plans for any improvements going forward?
And the new R160 cars, by the way, are having problems on the tracks. It seems that certain lines that the wheels are bearing down and they have to replace the wheels. So They're being taken out of service already. And to end the show, I just want to go on to something about Empire City, which you mentioned money going. The Empire City in its 18 years has given over $5 billion for New York State education, $1.3 billion in the past 5 years. And their annual payroll exceeds $90 million, they say. They play a vital role in the local economy as a major employer. 90% of their workforce is unionized. 70% of their employees reside in Yonkers, Mount Vernon, or the Bronx. And its commitment to supporting local businesses, they spend $30 million annually with local suppliers within a 20-mile radius. Now, the head of or I should say Ed Domingo, the COO of Empire City Casino, said that our commitment to Westchester and the Bronx has grown stronger through our investments in both Empire City and the surrounding communities. They're concerned that they have a bid in for a casino license, and it appears that Empire City, the raceway, which is a casino right now, and Aqueduct, which is also a racino, will get the 2 of the 3 proposed licenses. Now, they want to include a comprehensive renovation, expansion of casino floor, a 5,000 capacity entertainment venues, state-of-the-art BetMGM sportsbook, and improve their restaurants, and they'll create 2,000 direct jobs and generate more than $1 billion in economic activity, which will it will support the Bronx. Now, Wednesday night there was a meeting at the Morris Park Community Association with people from Bally's, former state senator Jeff Klein, who was lobbying for Bally's, and Stanley Schlein, the lawyer for the Bronx Democratic Party, was there. The team was led by Chris Hewlett, who did most of the talking. It'll be a $3 to $4 billion investment in the Bronx. Chris Hewlett of Bally's said there would also be a substation at the 45th precinct on site, and improvements to the roads leading to Bally's, including a new overpass. It's 15.7 acres of parkland they want to use. It would create a 500-room hotel, 4,500 parking spaces, an entertainment center, 25,000 square foot meeting room. And they have valued, though, when they have to alienate this parkland. And in the past, in I believe 2003, the Van Cortlandt Park had to have parkland alienated for a water filtration plant, and that was $230 million that the city gave to the Bronx for parks, to replace the parkland. Right. Bally's has estimated that this 15.7 acres is only valued at $100 million. And the residents of Throgs Neck, though, have said that they agree that Bally's estimate is very low for this parkland. And what Jeff Klein said when I said to him that it was, mentioned the $230 million for Van Cortlandt Park, he says, well, the city always overpays on things. But you know what? Jeff Klein voted for that, so he should have said that back then, that they're paying too much money. And in the audience, you could see more than 24 union members. Okay, with their jackets from the Carpenters and Local 9 or whatever. Two of the union members spoke. However, none of them said that they were from the Bronx. Any opinion on the Bally's casino proposal?
I think it's going to be terrible for the community if it goes through. You mentioned many of the issues. Going back, the money that Empire City has generated, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that they've paid all that money, but the $50 billion for education in New York State, where did that money go? Where? $5 billion. $5 billion. $5 billion. I'm sorry, I keep.
Well, what happened? What happened, Patrick, is remember when the lottery first came in, they were going to give all this money to education. Yes. Well, what's happened is it's gone in one pocket and come out the other pocket.
Exactly. As I think I'm a retired Yonkers firefighter. I worked in Yonkers when the casino was built. As far as helping the local community, if you go there right now, there are vacant storefronts right across the street from the casino. Business have failed while the casino's there. It does nothing for the surrounding community. You go, and I personally like to go to casinos. I've visited many casinos, MGM National Harbor. I've been down to Biloxi, Mississippi. I've walked around in the surrounding areas. The casino does nothing for the surrounding community. The biggest example is Atlantic City. If you walk 2 blocks, now Atlantic City's been operating for how many years now? 1976 they started operating, 78. You're talking coming up on 50 years in operation. If you walk 2 blocks from the boardwalk, there's abandoned houses, there's abandoned buildings, and you are literally taking your life in your hands at 2 o'clock in the morning to walk 2 blocks away from the casino. It's the same way in Baltimore. You cannot walk outside the casinos. If you stay right in that little bubble, it does nothing for the community. So these are the reasons I completely am against the Bally's project. It's beautiful parkland now. When Trump took over the golf course, the work that was done, it was incredible. And now we're going to tear it apart so that a few can make money. Very few.
Not only that, Patrick, but they're going to put pilings in and build like a platform for this casino and hotel. Now, I said to Senator Klein, why aren't you just digging it up? What's underneath that you don't want to dig up? Because there's been reports that Donald Trump got that for his golf course because part of the World Trade Center that was destroyed is underneath it. And there's going to be no environmental study on that. And nobody knows what's underneath there.
Well,
it's landfill, but what's there?
I'm sure there's a lot of toxic debris there. Having grown up my entire life in the Bronx and knowing what that area was and how it was since the time I was a teen, even younger than teen, I am sure that there is plenty of toxic chemicals and whatever buried down in that soil, in the earth, and in the water along the shore. And it most probably is not a very good idea to start disturbing it at this time.
Well, I see I'm running over. So, Patrick, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching live or you're going to be watching on YouTube. Hopefully I'll be able to get a Democrat to come on this show. I've had in the past. I've had Jennifer Kumar, who is now running for city controller. I think she wants to come back on. I'm going to try and get Mayor Adams since he's doing his rounds here in the Bronx. So let me just say goodbye and thank you once again to Patrick and to everybody watching. And hope everybody has a good weekend or whatever day you're watching, a good day. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Keep watching.